Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday Inspiration. And I'm going to go solo today. My partner, Fernanda, is right now in Atlanta. She is out on some speaking gigs. So send some good juju to her. So I think she's competing with all these other people for speaking opportunities. But I know she's going to do phenomenal because what the heck, we always have a great time when we're on here on the show with y'all. But happy Wednesday. I know it's been a little bit like chaotic with things going on out in our world, and we have viewers that go back and watch this, and sometimes they message us and they're like, I'm so glad I am not in the United States of America, especially in California. Well, I'm not in California, but I love where we are right now. That's why I have this jacket on, because it's a little bit, it's cooler. But how's everyone doing? And today we're going to get into some heavy, meaty stuff. And my guest today, you've met her before. She's awesome. We had so many amazing comments when she was with us. And this is the third time she's coming back. So that's like a first for us. And, you know, the world is changing right now. There's a lot going on. 2020 was supposed to be the perfect vision. It's not. You know, the reality of it is maybe it opened up some things for all of us that maybe we need to make some change, and we're stuck. And I know I have been stuck, and my go-to person is, you know, I have coaches I go to, I'm in support groups, but Kimberly has been very instrumental in my life and helping me to get where I am today, and even push me to become a better version of me. So today we're going to talk about that. You know, how do you get unstuck? Why do you get stuck? And why is it hard for people to change? Because we tend to see that right now, and we're waiting for 2021 to show up. And it's like magically we think that things are just going to work out and everything's going to be perfect, but that's not the case. Or we're waiting for who our next president is going to be just so that we make decisions. Well, we may not even know until January. So let's bring my dear friend on, and we're going to get to business and give you all some info here. Hi.
Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
You know, the jean jacket this morning was, I hope everybody else got the email, the memo. Because when we logged on, I'm like, oh, look, we
both, I
matched.
know, we both have our jean jackets on, keeping us warm.
Right. You hit a certain age and you're like, I kind of need a little sweater in the office, in the house.
Yeah. And then even right now, I mean, we're both working from home. So, and you've done a lot of that, you know, in the past. And it's like, yeah, you know, I really don't want to turn the heater on because it kind of has that smell when you first turn it on, right? And you've got to do it with all the doors open. So I'm like, nope, I'm putting the jacket on. I'm good. So how are you, my friend?
I'm fabulous. And I know you are too.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about doing this for a while. You know, there is change afoot. There is drama happening. I'm not going to go into which side does it better. All I'm going to say is one side is still complaining no matter what. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, I don't politicize things. I figure if people want to hear political commentary, they're going to tune in to somebody who does that for a professional purpose. What I'm here for today is there is a lot of unrest. I mean, even within the Rinaldi household, we own multiple businesses. We had a conversation on Sunday, and it was Mr. Rinaldi saying, well, until we know how things are, I'm like, time out, stop. We don't put our lives on hold in this house based on external circumstances.
Yeah.
We figure out what we want to do, determine where we are, identify where we want to be, and find the tools that are going to get us there.
And that's the theme right now, don't you think? That's been the theme for, and even myself for certain situations. It's like, well, I'm kind of waiting, but that's a dangerous game to play.
It is. You're basically putting your life on hold. And I was explaining to Mr. Rinaldi because I I operate really differently than a lot of other people. I operate off of the process. So when I'm about 80% to goal on anything, I know momentum will carry me the rest of the way. So by the time I hit that 80% mark where most people are like, yay, I'm ready to celebrate, Kimberly's going, what's the next plan? What's the next path? Where can we put some energy and effort out for improvement? As I'm process improvement directed, that's how my brain operates. So I was explaining to Mr. Rinaldi, we don't put our lives on hold. This is something that I refuse to do, even if we own brick and mortars, which we do, even if we live in California, which we do, even if we don't know what the governor is going to do in the next 5 minutes, which we don't. So, how do we move forward?
Yeah.
The ability to pivot, the ability to identify next best steps, not perfect steps, not long-term outcome, but the one that's going to get you the most traction. The ability to evolve is the thing that keeps people successful, motivated, happy. You're going to see outcomes that you didn't intend. Some people call that failure. I call it unexpected. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and I really want to go deep in this today because I hear too many conversations, especially business owners, parents, people of certain age, 20 to 60. You've got a life that you're trying to build and create, and you're being told by government and various factions, stop, sit, wait, hold on, we've got this. And the reality is they don't got this.
Yeah. That's it. And like I mentioned earlier, it's such a dangerous place to be. And let's just wait to see what happens. It's just like, while you're waiting, there's a small percentage that's like, okay, all right, this could happen and this could happen. So we got to be prepared. We've got to move forward and make a plan. And even if it doesn't work out exactly like you want it to, you're still ahead of everyone else because you've changed and you've gained some fortitude as well.
Right. And even if all of your plans, all of the best laid plans go awry, let's quote, what is it? Murphy's Law. All the best laid plans can go to hell in a handbasket. We know this can happen. You're still building a skill set. You're building the ability to pivot. You're building the ability to be resourceful. You're building the ability to move.
Yeah. Wow. I never even thought about it that way. You know, it's just like you still are going to gain something regardless. And it's like that quote about you have to take shots because, if you take in the basketball game, like Jordan would say, you miss all the shots you don't take, and
you miss 100. 100% of the shots you never take.
Yeah. That really sucks. And then you think, what if I should have, I could have, I would have, and all this. So it's like, no, even though there's a lot of crap that I know that I've done that didn't work out. And I'm like, okay, this did not go the way I had planned. So what can I learn from this? So, why do you think a lot of people are just kind of getting in that place where they just stay there?
It's fear. It's absolutely fear-based. I watched people who, and again, without going political, there is one faction that favors small business and one faction that doesn't. And I watched a lot of people in our realm who are business owners who either didn't vote or they voted the other side because of fear of what may happen. And I get people acting out of fear. What I don't get is people not identifying what they're afraid of, educating themselves to get beyond it. And I'm not going to say overcoming it because you never overcome fear. I'm afraid of things all the time. I mean, but it doesn't stop me from moving forward. It doesn't stop me from trying. I've used the toddler conversation in dozens of conversations. Toddlers don't have reason. They don't have logic, and they've got a head 30% volume and weight of their entire body. It's like the bumblebee with the little tiny wings that shouldn't fly. A toddler should never stand up. They're bobbleheads. They really are.
Yeah.
But they know what they want. They are tireless about trying to get there. They don't understand that it's about a 1 to 2 year process. They just keep looking at the outcome. Somebody else is doing it. That's what they want. So a face plant, an ass plant, a misstep, it doesn't matter. It's that singular focus. It's that momentum. It's that drive. And we lose that out of fear. What if somebody doesn't approve of what I've chosen? What if I'm wrong? What if I make a mistake? What if I fail? And
it's a humility. They feel like they're humiliated too, maybe.
Yeah. There's a lot of things behind it. And frankly, I've never understood it, but my brain is wired a lot differently because I have always pushed myself to do something different, do something new, find the next new shiny and just dive into it. The reason for that is I have bipolar disorder. So my brain is constantly, between the bipolar and the OCD, my brain is constantly looking for something to stimulate it, something to latch onto and ruminate and turn around and flip upside down. And I've harnessed it.
Yeah.
And I understand that is a wiring, but the biology of everyone's brain is the same in that the default biology is geared towards safety, stasis, comfort, because all of those things are going to keep you from getting eaten by saber-toothed cats, getting, killed by the bigger, badder predator that happens to be lurking wherever you happen to be living in whatever age it happens to be.
Wow. Yeah, that makes so much sense because people they keep doing the same thing and sometimes expecting a different result. And we know that doesn't work. Yeah. So what are some things that you think that, I know you coach so many people, and when they're in that situation, especially right now, this is like right now, it's happening to all of us. It's like,
my favorite statement, and you and I have talked about this before, is you can't solve the problem from inside the problem. And when you're inside the problem, you're stuck in a box. And all you see is the box.
Yes.
That's all you see. If you have financial problems, you're going to sit down in front of your computer. You're going to work your budget. You're going to try and squeeze 3 pennies out of 2. You're going to call the bank every morning and see what's cleared. You're going to look at your bills over and over and over and over. That's never going to solve all that focus is never going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Now, you have financial difficulties. What are the potentials to solve the problem? Really anything. I mean, you could win the lottery. I don't recommend going out and spending your life savings on tickets. There's a number of, you could have a yard sale. I mean, the creativity is boundless, but it's never going to happen when you're wrapped up and tied up in that ball, inside that box, inside the problem. So what do? You have to find what works for you to get creative. And the first thing is get out of the problem. Go do something else. Do something else. What do you do when you're looking for that creative spark?
I get outside and go for a walk. I have to get outside. Sometimes I breathe. I get into like a breathing techniques. Whether it's box breathing, or I'll look at the video. I'll listen to a guided meditation, just something. I listen to music that makes me feel loved. I go through my wedding list playlist and I choose something because it changes my state. And you're so right, because when you're in fear, you don't make logical decisions, and you can't even be creative either. And you're creative when I like watching little kids. They don't fear anything. They're just having a good time, and they're making a mud pie, something out of mud, and say, "Here, have my cheeseburger here," and they give it to you, and we play along, and I'm like, that was good. But that's them being creative because they don't worry. It's like they don't really have fear.
Exactly. For me, and I love what you said, go outside, get movement. The
Mhm.
biology that changes just by changing your state, your
Mhm.
experience, your location, you open up different pathways in the brain. Um, there's a lot. Mr. Rinaldi and I are listening to an old Carolyn Leaf book that he just recently discovered, and he's he's engaging on a path that I have been trying to get him to explore for decades now.
He's there though. He's there.
He's there. I love it. He's there. But it's an interesting conversation. Once you start to understand the biology behind behavior,
Mhm.
there is nothing you can't change.
That's awesome.
Nothing you can't change. You can change. You can change your past. You can change your present. You can change your future. There was a lot of talk 14 years or so ago, 15 years or so ago about The Secret. The movie came out. There were some
Mhm.
other great movies that came out that were sort of dovetailed into the conversation. Law of Attraction,
Mhm.
manifesting intentions, all of that. And people consider it woo-woo stuff, but the reality is the science behind it is proven. The science behind what you put your attention on is
Mhm.
proven.
Absolutely. I believe that
So
100%. I don't know.
yeah.
Even if somebody else doesn't believe it, I'm like you said, the science is there. It's just like, okay, if you're on top of a 20, 20-floor building and you jump, the likelihood of you going up is very, very slim to none compared to you going down, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
These are scientific laws. These are laws of biology, laws of behavior. And when you start to biohack how the brain works, what the neurological pathways are. See, 30 years ago, yeah, 30 or more years ago, when I started in healthcare, we had a belief that neurotransmitter was simply in the brain, that all emotions, all feelings, all thoughts simply resided in a place we called the brain.
mhm.
And what do you know as a scientist, as a
No,
health expert?
that's not true. You know, there's a lot of the whole brain gut connection too. So
Yeah.
that's huge. And I love what, you were saying about you have to change your state, so to speak.
Mhm.
But do you find too that you sometimes have to change your circle?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't I when I'm coaching and we're doing relationships, especially, I tell people, don't go burning bridges and torching the villages. You don't need to do that.
Mhm.
What you do need to understand is when you change, we call it crabs in a bucket. When you change,
Mhm.
people around you become uncomfortable because you're now new. Human behavior does not like new, does
Yeah.
not like change. I mean, look at what happens every 4 years when we get a political brouhaha like we're dealing with right now.
Right?
Seriously.
Yeah.
And human nature is not meant, although evolution favors those who can change, traditional, normal, default biology is stasis, stasis,
Mhm.
stasis. Everything the same means you're safe and you're comfortable,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
means you are incrementally collapsing in on yourself and making your world smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So when you start to understand that if you can go out there and encourage and court and build the muscle that seeks out different, that
Mhm.
seeks out new, that seeks out change, you become evolutionarily more viable, because basically evolution is not survival of the fittest in that it's the biggest, the strongest, the
Mhm.
baddest. It's the one that can pivot the quickest, the one that can adapt the best. That's what it is.
And even just changing one thing can make a huge difference, right? Because then you can start getting on a momentum. And I'll give you an example. I have never, ever done group classes, like group trainings. That's just not my jam. I've always been, I go to the gym. I was a runner growing up, so I loved my solo runs. It was quiet time. I got to think and just listen to music or whatever. And now I'm doing group, like with other women, and that's like so against what I used to do. And I'm like, I'm never going to be in one of those classes. But that was like a pivoting point for me, because it's like, okay, COVID, things have changed. I think I need a little bit more motivation. I mean, I'm pretty self-motivated, and you and I are similar in that way, where it's like, if we need to get something done, we're going to get it done. Very goal-oriented. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what we need to do. But because there is so much going on, I always like to say, even the juju, like you were saying, the energy, and there's just so much tension. I think is probably the best word, is tension there, and you feel it wherever you go. But even if just you as a person change one thing, whether it's maybe you say, okay, I'm going to eat 2 meals a day instead of 3 meals, and I know you were doing some intermittent fasting where you changed your time period of when you would eat. And it's like, okay, this is my small window of I'm going to eat. So just by even changing one thing, that can lead to some bigger changes too, right?
Yeah, I just recorded a program that is 7 days, 7 minutes. That is really, it's low-hanging fruit. I'm out to prove to people that with 5 minutes of information, 2 minutes of conscious focus in 7 days, so 7 minutes a day for 7 days, you can seriously start to choose joy in your life. And it's pretty simple. It's, for me, the process, as I'm looking at things sort of evolving outside my world, and I'm watching more and more people getting more stressed. I really believe a lot of people thought when September rolled around and school went back, things would go back to normal. I have a feeling this is going to be with us for at least 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah.
If you look at any of the other pandemics that were as big as this, it was about a 2-year window. So I think that's where we're on track for. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it gives us an opportunity. I know in the US, we are moving a lot without a lot of momentum, activity without a lot of action. I think we're being given an opportunity to take it back, roll it back, figure out what our priorities are, and re-implement things. So I think it's a gift. But from that perspective and looking at how little it takes, people think their life changes happen in these big, grandiose moments. The thing is, you don't get to that moment without having made all these incremental, little daily, habitual, patterned behaviors. And if you can incrementally adapt to change, if you can incrementally welcome creativity into your life, you start to shift your focus. Problems become opportunities. Challenges become changes. Really, that's all it is. And you repath the biology of the brain. You now become the fittest. You now become the one who can adapt, the one who can change, the one who can shift.
So what are, like, besides, you were saying it's really getting into that mindset, really, when you train, it's like you're training a beast. It's like, if you can train your mind, and when you're a little bit upset, get out of the mess, because you can't solve a problem. And even I think it's Einstein that says you can't solve a problem with the same level of mind that created the problem. Is it Einstein that said that, right? About basically, you
can't solve the problem in the mindset, behavior, and circumstances that created the problem.
So in essence, it's like we're getting stuck there. So one way of getting stuck is changing your physiology, and whether it's meditating, whether it's getting outside, more on a prolonged basis, even if you're, let's just say, I'm going to change something with my health. Okay, I'm going to do a fast. I'm going to start fasting. Maybe I'm going to do intermittent fasting. Maybe one day a week, I'm going to do a 12 or a 24-hour fast. So those are some other things. You also talked about the crab in the buckets, and yeah, when people want to pull you down. So would it make sense too that maybe I need to hire a coach, or maybe I need to get into another, if it's a group of people that are going to be there to encourage me and maybe help me look at things differently that I can't see.
I know we're on social media right now, so don't say anything. This is the worst place to spend your time if you're not using it wisely.
Yes.
Seriously. If you're here scrolling, thumbing through, looking at the shit show, get off. Change your feed. If there is something on your feed that disturbs you, change it. Unfriend, delete, stop looking at the product, stop. I mean, seriously, my feed, I go to it because, well, you and I both do business on this platform.
Yes.
And on multiple platforms. But my feed inspires me. If I'm having a moment where it's like, oh my word, I need some clarity here, I can go to my feed and it's not going to tell me where the shit show is happening in the world.
Yeah.
It's going to give me information, education, and inspiration. Those are the three things that I allow into my world. We don't have regular TV. We're coming in on 2 years. We've been a one television household for decades, and I've been fighting to get rid of cable and all that for a long time. And 2 years ago, we took a fast, and basically, I have Netflix and a few other things, but Smithsonian Channel, it's predominantly documentaries. If I'm going to sit in front of something, it better inspire me, educate me, or encourage me, uplift me. This thing is a muscle and it has to be worked. We were talking about crabs in a bucket. What do you do when you're surrounded by all the negativity? Take a step back and look at every experience. Is this moving me towards my goals, keeping me stuck where I am, or moving me further away from? Doesn't mean you have to blow up your relationships, but it does mean you have to start looking at where you share your information. You have to build a support system if you don't have one. You have to find a support system if you don't have one. If you don't have the tools, skills, strategies to make the changes that you need to, then you need to go out there and find them. If you don't have the financial resources to make it happen, there's tons of free content on the internet. If you have the ability to invest in yourself, what you're doing is telling yourself and the rest of the world that you deserve more. I know in times when I have spent literally tens of thousands of dollars on content production and direction, it'll get my business moving. I know that. That's not an issue. But when I take that money and invest part of it in content content direction and personal direction, that's when stuff just blows up.
Yes.
Because I feel better about me. I'm more creative. I do better in my business. It's just, that is the law of the land. You don't get what you deserve in life. You get what you're willing to work for and what you're willing to negotiate and what you're willing to tell the world and the universe that you're worthy of.
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, that's kind of how we met.
Yeah.
Because we went to an event that was more about personal, it wasn't about business. It was about us becoming a better version of ourselves. And who would know years later that, I mean, it's just like, I can call you or text you. You're like my 911. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to talk to someone. Someone's got to talk me off the ledge. You're the one that I know that you will always be there. And it's just like our minds. And even at times when we're having our own conversations in our mind, it's sometimes like, okay, I need to talk to Kimberly. She'll call me, or vice versa, or we'll some sort of, there's communication all the time. So That's why it is so important with your circle of friends, and what
Exactly.
you're feeding in here. That's just huge. So
Exactly.
what are some other strategies that, and I love what you said about the self-worth and feeling worthy enough, because a lot of people, especially women, do you find that women have more of an issue with worthiness than men? Like,
Oh, I own the .com Women, Wealth, and Worthiness for a reason.
yeah.
I've used it on a couple of programs, but there's actually something that I'm holding it out for. Women have been told, and I'm not going to go into, we're a misogynistic culture. I'm not victim mentality. I'm all about what you're not here because of where you're used to be. You're here because of where you choose to be. So I'm all about empowerment. But women have this, men just don't have it. It's the meme of the overweight middle-aged guy in the tidy whities who's balding in the mirror, and he's talking about what a study is, and you see a little thin woman who looks absolutely perfect, and she's like, oh my god, I've got cellulite. It's men just have a different mindset as to how they see themselves. And yes, they have, men do have issues that they deal with, but it's a different animal. And as women, I think part of it is, again, I know we're on social media, so okay, part of it is we look to magazines, television, the media, social media, and we are given ideals that do not exist.
Yes. Amen.
I
Amen to
remember
that.
15 years ago, I had a client who brought me her 13-year-old daughter to work with because the daughter had developed an eating disorder. And the daughter had normal body fat. She was 13 years old. She still had the baby body fat distribution. She had not developed into muscular adult woman body distribution, which still has a fat distribution. And she sat there and cried because when she sat down, she had a roll on her side that showed up.
Gosh.
And I was having the hardest time with that one, trying to explain to her, there's not even fat under that baby cakes. That's just skin. I mean, it was, remember the old Special K pinch an inch? It was less than an inch. It was skin. There was no body fat under that.
Yeah.
And she wanted 0 rolls, 0 wrinkles, 0. She wanted Barbie, smooth perfection, and that doesn't exist. I think the other side of it is, I think we're seeing things differently as adults, but I think in our formative years, we are set up to be competitive in ways that are not healthy as women, period.
Yes, I agree. Definitely 100%.
Yeah.
And so what would be one thing that you would tell them to get over that? I know we're influenced a lot by social. It's worse now because of social media. And then, no one ever puts the crappiest pictures on there. I mean, they'll take like 10, 12, 20 pictures or have a photographer following them around. Oh, the pose.
I show up. Hold on. Let's show you some reality here. I haven't dyed my hair in months. Okay, 2 months, but still. I show up. I will barely get lipstick on. Occasionally I'll get the eyes done. I actually talk about the fact, because these are tools. If I'm going to do photographs, I will full makeup and hair and spend the money to have it done because it's a marketing perspective. But when people show up to meet me, I'm usually barefaced with a little bit of chapstick, because the bottom line is, this is not my work. This is not what I do. I grew up with a mother who wouldn't leave the house until she had full hair and makeup on, which meant we were late to a lot of stuff growing up. So I was a sunglasses and lipstick kind of girl for decades. And I grew up literally with my mother and my father saying, are you going to go out looking like that?
Wow.
And I remember one day I turned and I was like, I'll say, for fuck's sake. Am I Coyote ugly? I mean, am I that offensive? And my father took a step back and he goes, well, no, Mija, you're beautiful, but you're much more attractive with the makeup on. And I said, stop that right there. Why isn't it just enough? Why can't I just be comfortable with who I am?
Yes.
And that's something that comes from within. I don't feel compelled to have the size 5 bikini body anymore. I haven't had that in years. I don't feel compelled to put full makeup and hair on to go outside. There are times when I know I need to do it if I'm doing an event and, you know, it's sort of an expectation if you're up on stage. But I want people to see me, to know me. And I look at some women on social media who have fabulous messages, but I can't get past what they're trying to put out front because I know them behind the scenes. And you see that perfect little sofa back there? It's clean. If you look around me, I am surrounded by, it's not hoarders, there aren't dead cats. I'm surrounded by piles of books right now because I'm reviewing my office again. Yes. So, you know, I've got probably 100 books on one side. I've got a pile of mail on this side in CDs and DVDs as I'm going through my research content. But I think we keep looking at these stylized circumstances and believing that that's real life. I'm sorry, but the McDonald's burger on the commercial is not edible. It's beautiful, but it's not edible.
Right. Yes.
Which is why you're disappointed when you go through the drive-through and get the edible, well, semi-edible one. That isn't as pretty. It's stylized for marketing, and that's what you have to understand.
Yeah. Definitely. I get it. What would be your top 3? What would be your top 3 takeaways that you would give someone like, you know, you're stuck right now. This is my top 3. This is what I would tell you to do. That's going to give you the fastest traction and growth, but also feel good about yourself. What would you tell them?
First thing, hydrate, rest, biological, take care of you. Hydrate, rest, eat real, healthy, good foods. First things first. This, you can do all the other stuff, and you are my go-to when I'm in health crisis. You know, we love each other. And if I'm not biologically sound, everything else I do is double, triple effort to maintain it.
Yes.
Why am I going to work that hard? So hydrate appropriately, eat healthy, get plenty of rest, you know, avoid the chemicals that you can avoid the poisons that you can avoid. It's basic biology at this point. Okay. So that's first and foremost. Second thing I would recommend, stop for a minute. Just stop. Go back to when you were a child. Pick one thing you would get lost in as a kid. What was that for you, Linda?
Playing at times with Barbie dolls. I remember having the big old, Barbie townhouse. Do you remember those with the little RV camper? And I could just sit there and play for hours.
Okay.
So I would do that.
How can you bring that into your life now? What can you do that gives you that freedom where your brain just checks out and you can go be creative for hours?
You know what I've been doing a lot of is the meditation. Just getting into a meditation, listening to guided, or just listening to music with a different vibrational frequency. And I don't even want to open my eyes because I get lost. Like I'm in another dimension.
Yeah.
So
And for me, it's yoga. To be able to do yoga or weight training where my mind and my body are working in unison for something that I can measure, because I'm very competitive, for something that I can measure day to day to see where I'm at. So for me, it's that. It's that mind-body connection. So it's the same thing for you. And that's usually, when you break it down, the mind-body connection for you as a child was, the tactile of the dolls and dressing them and creating their worlds. But it really was a mind-body connection.
Yes. Yes.
So find that mind-body connection that as a child, for some people it's reading, for, whatever it is, find that place again. And give yourself the gift of time in that place on a daily basis.
And I remember now something too. I used to do a lot there because I was always considered the nerd. I read a lot. I read a lot of books. I was always at the library checking out new books. And even in middle school, I was a nerd because I was the one checking out all the books. So that was another thing that and at times now, I don't fully finish an entire book because I want to get to the next book, which is not a good thing. It's like I really just need to stick with 1 or 2 books, complete it.
Yeah.
And
there are no rules. You don't have to have a rule for that. Do what makes you happy. The third thing I would say is be as gentle with yourself as you would a beloved child. See, I call it the shit-flinging monkey that lives in your head. It's the one that says, you're the reason you can't have nice things. You're the reason that these things happen. It's because of you. You would never say that to a child that you loved. Ever. Ever. Your self-talk is really the difference between living life full out, just filled with joy, doing the things that make you happy, or following the default behavior. The shit-flinging monkey has a purpose. It's there to keep you safe. It's the thing that's going to tell you, you know what? Maybe you don't want to go skiing at 54 years old because the last time you did, you blew your knee out. But, it doesn't have to tell you that you're a dumbass for doing it. That's the difference,
Yes, I hear you. And I love that you just said, that's just a confirmation. I was at a study this morning and somebody said this, and one of the ladies said this, and it just blew my mind now that what you're saying. If someone says something like, oh, I can't believe I'm so stupid that I forgot that. She turned around, she said, oh, don't talk to my friend like that. So look at you as your best friend is like, would you talk to your best friend like that?
Or would you let anyone else talk to your best friend like that?
Right?
Would you let anyone talk to a child that you loved like that? You would
not. No.
You'd put a stop to it immediately. So really, all 3 things: take care of you, take care of you. Here, camera, take care of you. All 3 things are basically take care of you.
Yes.
You are the most important person in your life. And if you don't do it, nobody else is going to. And you have potentially 70 to 80 years on this planet.
Yeah. And when you when you do those 3 things, you choose your friends wisely, you create healthier habits, you have accountability, you hire someone to help you. And I've gone through one of your courses, and I would love for you to share that, because that really, it was short, but yet intense. Like you were saying, the 7 minutes of let's deal with the low hanging fruit. And a lot of the low hanging fruit, it is the mindset, because you can go and do all this other stuff, do all the work, but it's going to be so much harder when your mindset is not dialed in. So I would love for you to share, because I know you're going to be running a program soon again, right?
Yeah, I actually, what I have is, hold on, I have to go look at the name of the program. This is sad, really. It's your choice. It's your choice. It's it's your choice. It's a 7-day challenge. And basically, it's 7 minutes a day for 7 days to start to consciously choose joy. And I go through sort of down the rabbit hole. We talk about it through the lens of Alice in Wonderland. We talk about it through the lens of looking at things differently. And honestly, in 7 minutes for 7 days, you can change a lot. Because again, I said it before, you don't find yourself in front of those big life changes and challenges as a one-off. There's a pattern of behaviors that got you there. Thoughts, beliefs, decisions, behaviors, TBDBs. Those are what color, influence, and create the world around you.
Yes.
And you have 100% control over them when you understand how it works.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Where's the website where they can go to and find you?
KimberlyRinaldi.com/resources. I've already got a link up for your members. They get free access to the program. It hasn't launched yet. It'll launch at the end of December, but for the next few weeks, your people have access to it as my gift.
All right. I'm going to share that. So as your name spelled out, .com/resources.
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Like always, we always have just these amazing conversations, and I just love for just other people to understand this, because, you know, life is really about life is here for you. It doesn't happen to you. It's here for you.
Yeah. I mean, I am an anomaly within my family set. There was substance abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, childhood, just, it was a shit show. There are family members who are in prison, who are 60-year-old drug addicts, who are 50-year-old alcoholics, and just, perpetuating the behaviors, and they're miserable.
Yeah.
I made different choices. I realized in my early 20s, that's not where I wanted to be. And I did everything in my power to make the changes to get where I am today. And you can too. You can do what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, and appreciate you very, very much. We'll make those available for our audience, and they should be getting them emails so that they can also get the information there. But thank you all so much. We will see you next week, Wellness Wednesday Inspirations, and we have another amazing, something also amazing, but do the work that something that, at least apply one thing that we talked about today, at least one thing. That's going to help you to get unstuck, just changing one thing. All right. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.